Chuck Schumer, no one respects you. The definition of a lying scumbag politician, that is you. You would be the definition if you Googled you right now.
America, at 3:30 in the morning on April 23rd, 2026, the United States Senate voted 50-48 to unlock $70 billion for ICE and Border Patrol. Not one Democrat voted yes, not one. And before those votes were even finished being counted, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, stood at the Senate microphone and told the country that ICE and Border Patrol are the two groups of people that nobody respects in this country. He called them Trump's private army. He called them masked agents occupying our streets. Meanwhile, the same week, ICE was in Virginia suburb pulling an accused MS-13 murderer out from hiding. ICE was in Houston arresting 17 PDFs. ICE was in Fairfax County taking a convicted child off the streets. But here's what nobody is slowing down to explain. Democrats didn't just vote no on April 23rd. They are the reason this vote had to happen at 3:30 in the morning. They deliberately shut down the Department of Homeland Security 9 weeks earlier, and Republicans just found the one lane that they couldn't block.
While you were sleeping, lawmakers on Capitol Hill voting to approve $70 billion in funding for ICE and Border Patrol.
What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Before you can understand why 50 senators are awake and voting at 3:30 in the morning, you need to go back till about mid-February 2026. That's when DHS funding ran out. It didn't run out by accident. Democrats refused to vote for the money until Republicans agreed to specific conditions. Think of it like refusing to pay your electricity bill until the power company agrees to new rules. Except it's the Department of Homeland Security, which means TSA stops getting properly funded, FEMA stops getting properly funded, the Coast Guard stops getting properly funded, and the country's border enforcement agency run on emergency reserves until those reserves eventually dry up. Democrats' three conditions were specific: a ban on ICE agents wearing masks during operations, a requirement that agents get judicial warrants before entering private property, and a ban on enforcement operations near schools and hospitals.
Now Republicans are moving forward with their own process to fully fund the Department of Homeland Security and do so entirely along party lines.
The concurrent resolution, as amended, is agreed to.
A mask ban during operations against violent criminals, a school zone where enforcement stops at the door, a hospital that becomes a quote-unquote safe haven for illegal aliens. Anyone who knows how cartels and gangs operate knows exactly how they would use these three rules. Democrats called them common sense. ICE called them a tactical playbook for the other side. The reason, you guys, Democrats felt that they had leverage goes back to January 2026 in Minneapolis. During an immigration enforcement operation, federal agents shot and killed 2 U.S. citizens. Regardless on how you look at it, that is a real tragedy and it's under investigation. Democrats used those 2 deaths to justify shutting down the entire department. For 9 weeks, might I add. And here's how deep the damage went inside DHS while they were holding out.
We have been shut down for the longest shutdown in the U.S. government history, and our adversaries aren't shut down, and we're tasked to protect the homeland. That's like defunding the Department of War, because we're doing the same thing. The Department of War comes up to our shores. Department of Homeland, I take everything once it gets to our shores.
Mullen says the department does pay out more than $1.6 billion in wages every 2 weeks, and that there will be nothing left to pay workers after the current emergency funding runs out.
We're weeks away from getting not paid, all because Democrats wanted a mask ban. Here is a quick civics breakdown that makes this all click together. In the Senate, you normally need 60 out of 100 senators to agree before most major bills can pass. That 60 vote requirement is called the filibuster. Republicans have 53 senators. Democrats have 47. If every Democrat votes no, which they did, Republicans need 7 Democrats to cross over to help them hit that 60 mark. That was never going to happen. But there is one exception built into Senate rules specifically for budget and spending bills. It's called budget reconciliation. Under reconciliation, certain money-related bills only need 51 votes, a simple majority, and Democrats can't run out the clock or block the vote. Republicans used that process and held it.
What we wanted was to put some basic common sense safe guardrails on how these agents have been acting to stop the worst of the abuses.
The Capitol Hill stalemate has landed DHS in the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. The department was able to reroute funding to pay workers over the last few weeks, but now warns it will run out of money to cover salaries in early May.
Republicans are going to be forced to do the responsible thing of ending this shutdown on our own.
9 weeks of trying to negotiate with Democrats produced nothing. So Republicans stopped asking for permission and built a lane Democrats can't enter. One important clarification: what passed on April 23rd is called a budget resolution, not the actual spending bill yet. Think of a resolution as the Senate approving the quote-unquote blueprint here. The actual construction still has to happen and move forward. The House has to adopt the same resolution. Both chambers write and vote on the actual bill. Then it goes to Trump by his June 1st deadline. But here is what actually matters. The reconciliation process is now locked in. Democrats, they can't filibuster the final bill either.
The vote-a-rama ended just before 3 a.m. our time without a single Democratic senator signing on. Take a look at this. This is a look at the final vote happening. 2 Republicans broke rank, ending with a 50-48 vote. Now, monitoring the reaction on social media this morning, Democratic Senator Patty Murray writes on X, they're jamming through $70 billion for ICE and $0 for families. Meantime, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham posted he's proud of the vast majority of Republicans who stuck together.
During reconciliation, Democrats get to force unlimited amendment votes. That's a quote-unquote vote-a-rama, if you would. They tried school meals, child care, health care costs. Republicans voted them all down one by one, together at 3:30 in the morning. Not a summary here, not a clip of somebody describing it. Chuck Schumer himself at the Senate microphone on camera.
Republicans want to shell out billions of dollars to Donald Trump's private army without any common sense reforms or restraints. Democrats want to put money in Americans' pockets by lowering the costs of health care and gas and groceries, housing, and so much else. Republicans are bending the knee to Donald Trump and Stephen Miller. Democrats are standing up to the American people. America will see even more clearly tonight where the Republicans are, not on the side of lowering costs, but on the side of masked agents occupying our streets. Where the heck are you? America is crying out for relief from high costs, and you're here adding $140 billion to an agency that nobody, to two groups, Border Patrol and ICE, that nobody respects in this country.
That was said at a United States Senate microphone, on camera, in front of other colleagues, about people being asked to put themselves between American neighborhoods and MS-13 and fentanyl and traffickers and child PDFs. Nobody respects. Now, here is the vote that happened in the exact same session that makes that speech impossible to defend. The same night, Chuck Schumer called ICE agents people nobody respects. The Senate voted on one specific amendment. That amendment, you guys, said the new funding would specifically be used to arrest and remove illegal immigrants who had been convicted of rape, murder, and sexual abuse of a child after entering the country illegally.
This amendment would create a deficit-neutral reserve fund relating to ICE conducting apprehension, mandatory detention, expedited deportation of adult illegal aliens.
The yeas are 98. The nays are 0. The amendment is agreed to.
98-0, every Democrat in that chamber voted yes on using ICE to remove convicted child abusers and murderers. But they voted no on funding the agency doing the actual removing here. Schumer called that agency something that nobody respects. Those two factors sit right next to each other on the same night. Let me tell you specifically what those agents nobody respects are doing the same week that Chuck Schumer gave that speech. In Woodbridge, Virginia, 25 miles south of the Senate building, ICE arrested a woman named Isabel Morales Mojia. She is a Salvadorian national in the country illegally. She's wanted in El Salvador for aggravated homicide and for membership in MS-13. ICE found her after Salvadorian authorities tipped them off that she may be hiding in Northern Virginia. And here's the detail the ICE field director specifically wanted the public to know. Morales Maya has no criminal record inside the United States. She was never arrested here. She's never been charged here under the conditions Democrats are demanding, specifically the ICE-focused operations on people with U.S. criminal histories. She would have been untouchable. She would have stayed in that Virginia suburb free. The media would consider her a non-criminal. Under every standard Democrats wanted to lock in that law, she walks. She is in a Virginia suburban right now under Democrat rule. ICE found her anyway. And Morales Mojia wasn't the only operation that week. Between April 6th and April 17th, before the Senate even voted, ICE Houston arrested 17 child PDFs, 6 murderers, and 16 traffickers, and 15 gang members in 2 weeks. On April 21st, 2 days before the Senate vote, DHS confirmed ICE arrested a Fairfax County, Virginia man convicted on 3 counts of child videos in his possession. Child PDFs, MS-13, convicted murderers, Fairfax and Woodbridge, Northern Virginia, the same neighborhoods that those 48 senators represent constituents from. While Democrats were negotiating for 9 weeks, DHS wasn't on pause. It was quietly falling apart.
The Department of Homeland Security is now scouring its offices for toner ink in order to print things. They're using the backsides of documents because they've run out of paper. Some offices don't have paper clips, some don't have staples. But, you know, if that sounds trivial, there are also some deeper crises developing within the Department of Homeland Security. We mentioned TSA earlier. They've seen more than 780 officers quit amid this past shutdown alone. At FEMA, the Disaster Relief Fund, which is really our bank account for recovery to natural disasters nationwide, is running dry. It is about to dip below $3 billion, which will put it in imminent needs funding.
Guys, the Department of Homeland Security ran out of paper clips. Emergency responders are missing required training every week that this drags on. Not because America is broke, because Democrats want a mask ban and a hospital zone exclusion. TSA agents protecting airports have $5 million in unpaid travel expenses sitting uncollected. Secret Service agents on the Presidential Protective Division, the people who physically protect the president, were paying hotel bills out of pocket during an official government assignment because the reimbursement system froze. The FIFA World Cup starts in less than 50 days. International fans from all over the world are flying into American cities. DHS can't hire additional security staff needed to coordinate protection for those matches because it's all been running on emergency reserve since February.
That the funding that was unlocked through President Trump's executive order to provide payroll for DHS workers, including TSA agents, will soon run dry. Here's Mullen.
That money is dried up if I continue down this path the first week of May.
Early May, days from when this vote happened, TSA agents who check your bags and keep your flight safe, weeks away from working without paychecks, also Democrats could negotiate a mask ban for 9 weeks. Here's the political chess move inside that vote that most outlets aren't spending enough time on. Republicans didn't fund ICE for 1 or 2 more years. They designed this package to run through January 20th, 2029, the very last day of Trump's second term. and they said it publicly, and they explained exactly why. November 2026 is the midterm election. If Democrats win back the Senate or the House, they immediately have power to cut off ICE funding, attach conditions, block spending, or gut operations. Defunding ICE is the documented goal of the progressive wing of the Democrat Party. If Democrats win in November, that goal becomes possible again, unless the budget is already locked in.
Republicans say the goal is to remove Democrat leverage on the funding for the rest of Trump's term. That's why they're planning to fund ICE and CBP for the next 3 years with this budget resolution and this budget bill that's underway right now. Remember, Republicans are having to do this on their own with their own votes because Democrats refuse to fund ICE without changes to ICE policy.
Even if Democrats sweep November, ICE budget is already signed, sealed, and funded through January 2029.
Republicans now taking that partisan step of going at it alone, trying to pass this bill. And part of the contentious nature of this bill is, as you noted, some Republicans want to see things added to it, including something on the cost of living to lower the cost of living for Americans ahead of the midterm elections. Ultimately, Republican congressional leadership moving forward with what they're calling a skinny package, just this limited bill that would send tens of billions of dollars to Border Patrol and ICE.
It goes to the House next. Speaker Johnson said he'll move as fast as possible. Experts say the final bill could clear both chambers before June 1st. And when it does, those 46 Democrat senators who voted no at 3:30 in the morning will have to explain that vote to their constituents in 7 months. America, here's what nobody's saying loudly enough about what happened at 3:30 in the morning. 46 Democrat senators just went on record voting no on funding the agents who arrest MS-13 accused killers in Virginia, convicted child video keepers in Fairfax County, and 17 child PDFs in Houston, all in the same week. That is in the congressional record. It cannot be edited or deleted. And here's the piece that connects directly to Northern Virginia. The ICE director noted publicly that the Woodbridge MS-13 suspect had 0 U.S. criminal history, meaning she would be legally protected under the Democrat conditions. Every family in that area knows what standard Democrats are trying to lock in the law. Those 48 senators face their votes in November 2026. Every single one of them just handed their opponent the same one-sentence campaign ad. And you already know what it says. Democrats shut down DHS for 9 weeks, demanding conditions that would have protected an MS-13 murder suspect. Republicans voted at 3:30 in the morning and locked the budget through 2029. The receipts are in the congressional record, and they don't expire. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button.